Welcome to another deep dive. I think we've all been there at some point wondering how to tell if a woman is interested, even if she's trying hard not to show it.
It really is a fascinating mix of psychology and, kind of like social dynamics.
Definitely. In this piece, we have 5 signs. A woman likes you but is trying not to show it. I think that's a perfect roadmap for this deep dive, especially because reading those signals can sometimes feel like you're trying to decipher hieroglyphics or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get caught up overanalyzing every little thing. Is she smiling? Is she looking at me?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is a lot of these signs, they actually go deeper. They're based in like real psychological patterns.
Okay, so let's jump into that first sign, increased attention. And I think, on the surface, everybody pays attention when they're just trying to be polite. So how do we know when it's actually something more?
Yeah, it's about going beyond just, surface level politeness. It's like she's listening, but she's not just listening to respond. She's really trying to build like a mental model of you in her mind.
Yeah.
So it's more than just like remembering my coffee order or something.
Exactly. It's about her noticing and remembering those little details that make you tick. Your opinions, the things you value, even just like your little quirks.
So like how I get super passionate talking about that one book series or how I always tell those self-deprecating jokes.
Exactly. She's gathering all these pieces of information to get a clearer picture of who you are as a person. And then she uses that to connect with you on a deeper level.
So it's like she asks follow-up questions or remembers things I've said weeks ago.
Right? Or she finds ways to bring up those things in future conversations. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you mentioned you love a certain band a month ago, and suddenly she's suggesting you go to their concert together.
Okay, that's a good sign then, right?
It's definitely something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But you don't want to read too much into just one instance. You got to look for consistent patterns across different situations.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about body language? This one's always fascinated me because it's like our bodies are speaking even when we're not saying a word.
It's true. It's like this whole secret language we use to communicate sometimes without even realizing it. And when it comes to attraction, oh man, there are some telltale signs.
Like what I always hear about eye contact being a big one, but how much eye contact is enough to actually mean something?
It's not just about the amount, it's more about the quality. Like, does she hold your gaze for a beat longer than what feels normal? Or do you ever catch her looking at you when you're not looking, and then she quickly looks away when you turn towards her?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's about those subtle glances that kind of betray a deeper interest.
Exactly, and eye contact's super important, but you gotta look at it in combination with other body language cues. Like imagine she's leaning in while she's talking to you, mirroring your posture, making eye contact.
That sounds like a pretty strong combo.
It is. It's like all these behaviors are working together to bridge that gap between you. Like her body language is saying, hey, I'm interested, even if her words aren't.
So it's not about any one gesture, it's about reading her whole body language.
You got it. And speaking of reading signals, let's talk about physical touch. Now, we're not talking about anything overtly romantic here, more like those little fleeting touches that almost seem accidental.
Like she brushes your arm when she laughs at a joke or touches your back when she's walking past.
Exactly. It's like a way of testing the waters, breaking down those physical barriers, and seeing how you respond.
It's like a spark, a little connection.
Exactly. And your reaction matters too. If you tense up and pull away, she might think you're not interested. But if you're open to those touches, it creates this subtle invitation for more connection.
Wow, this is a lot to think about. Okay, so we've got increased attention, the subtle dance of body language, and the power of touch.
Okay, so moving on to something a little bit different. Playful teasing. It's like, how do you know if she's just being friendly or if there's something more to it?
Yeah, that's tricky because the line can be so blurry. Like, when is it just banter and when is it actual flirting?
Right? Well, think of it this way. Playful teasing, when it's done well, it's like a little dance. A back and forth that builds connection and kind of tests the boundaries.
So it's not about being mean or trying to put someone down. It's about creating that kind of fun, playful intimacy.
Exactly. It's about that energy, Like,
Oh, yeah.
Is there a twinkle in her eye when she's teasing you? Does she laugh along with you or maybe give you a little nudge?
It's like you can feel that underlying warmth, even if the words themselves sound a bit edgy. Like in the article, it says, wow, you're really into that fantasy football thing, huh? Do you even sleep during the season?
Yeah, like that. On paper, it can sound kind of critical. But if she says it with the right tone, it's just a playful way of acknowledging your passions. even if she doesn't totally get it.
It's like a secret code that only people who are comfortable with each other can understand. And I guess how you respond to the teasing is important too.
Oh, absolutely. If you can laugh at yourself and fire back a playful tease of your own, it shows that you're confident and have a sense of humor.
It's like you're both in on the joke. It creates a dynamic between the two of you.
Exactly. It shows a connection that goes beyond just, surface level stuff. Okay, so let's move on to our last sign, initiating contact.
This one seems pretty straightforward. If she's interested, she'll make an effort to reach out, right?
Yeah, in most cases. But remember, women get a lot of unwanted attention. So if she's going out of her way to initiate contact, it means she sees something special in you. She's choosing to invest her time and energy.
So it's not just like a random text or like on social media. It's about genuine effort to connect.
Exactly. It could be anything from texting first to suggesting you grab coffee or sending you an article she thought you'd like. It's showing initiative.
And that takes confidence, especially when you're just getting to know someone.
Definitely. It flips the script on that whole men make the first move thing.
Yeah.
So if she's doing that, it's a pretty strong sign.
But then I wonder, are there times when a woman might be interested but still hesitant to reach out?
Oh, for sure. Just like some guys are shy. Women can be too. Maybe she's afraid of rejection or coming on too strong. Or maybe she's just taking her time getting to know you before she puts herself out there.
It sounds like you need a lot of patience and understanding to navigate all of this.
Yeah, there's no easy answer. Everyone expresses interest in their own way. But that's what makes it interesting, right? And before we wrap up, I think it's really important to talk about context.
Because a woman could just be naturally outgoing and flirty, that doesn't automatically mean she's romantically interested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to look at how she interacts with other people. Does she act differently around you? Does she seem to light up when you're there? Does she initiate conversations? Does she position herself near you?
Little things like that can tell you a lot.
We really can. And one of the biggest takeaways from this whole deep dive is that understanding these signs can help you approach potential connections with way more confidence.
Yeah, even if you're not totally sure how she feels, you have a better idea of how to navigate those early interactions.
Right. Instead of just second-guessing yourself and overthinking everything, you can use these insights to figure out what to do next.
So let's say you are picking up on some of these signs and you're interested. How do you move forward?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And honestly, there's no magic formula.
Every situation's different. Every person's different.
Exactly. But finding that balance between confidence and sensitivity is key.
So, don't be afraid to show you're interested, but also respect her boundaries.
Exactly. And clear communication is always the best policy. If you're not sure how she feels, don't be afraid to just ask.
It's so true. Sometimes we overthink things way too much and forget that just having an honest conversation is the simplest solution.
I know, right? Those conversations, they can be so rewarding, whether they lead to a romantic connection or just a deeper friendship.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive. We've basically uncovered this secret language of attraction.
And I hope our listeners feel like they can go out there and use what they've learned to connect with people in a more meaningful way.
So pay attention to those little cues, stay curious, and most importantly, keep your heart open. You never know what you might discover.
That's right. Happy decoding, everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about these 5 signs, but it feels like it's not about just checking them off a list, right?
No, not at all.
It's about understanding what those behaviors really mean, seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about those patterns, recognizing them and thinking about the context of, your interactions with her.
Like you were saying before, someone could just be super outgoing and flirty with everyone. That doesn't automatically mean she's into you romantically.
Right. You have to compare how she acts around you versus how she is with other people. Are there little differences? Is she more animated when she's talking to you? Does she go out of her way to be near you or start conversations?
Those are the things that really tell the story.
They do.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I think people can take away from this is just realizing that understanding these signs can give you so much more confidence when you're, trying to connect with someone.
Yeah, even if you're not 100% sure how she feels, you have a better idea of how to approach things.
Exactly. It's like instead of being stuck in your head, overthinking everything, you can use this knowledge to kind of guide you.
So let's say you're seeing these signs and you're definitely interested. What's the best way to actually make a move?
The million-dollar question, right? And unfortunately, there isn't one right answer.
Yeah, because every situation is different. Everyone expresses interest in their own way.
Exactly. But I think the key is to strike that balance, between being confident and being sensitive.
So don't be afraid to show you're interested, but also be respectful of her boundaries.
Exactly. And remember, being direct and honest is always the best way to go. If you're really unsure about her feelings, don't be afraid to just ask.
I think that's so important. Sometimes we get caught up in trying to read these subtle cues that we forget how simple it can be to just have an open conversation.
It's true. And, those conversations can be so rewarding, whether they lead to something romantic or just a stronger friendship.
This whole deep dive has been so insightful. It's like we've decoded this whole secret language of attraction.
We have. And hopefully our listeners feel like they can go out there and use what they've learned to, connect with people on a deeper level.
So pay attention, be curious, and most importantly, stay open to possibilities. You never know what you might find.
Absolutely. Happy decoding, everyone.